But Nikki Giovanni, the poet, whom the world knows, and Yolanda Giovanni, the schoolgirl, whom schoolmates and teachers know, these are different people. I mean, they're the same, but they're different people. So I guess what we're interested in is how you got from that to this. And when did you begin to think about writing poetry? I know you talked about declamations and speech making and so on. When did that begin to seem to you to be something you could do all the time?
Well, it's something I'm still thinking about.
Mm-hmm. Or how did you begin to think about it?
In college, because I think I put strange things together. I mean, you know that. I'm always looking for how do you mix oil and water, you know, one of those kind of things. And in college, obviously you're going to get to poetry because that's the only form that allows you to do that with any kind of consistency. And so I was at Fisk, and I mean, what is Fisk if not the arts? I know Fisk has, you know, labs and stuff, but Fisk is an art school. And I always enjoyed the writing, but I enjoy the process, you know, the newspaper, the literary magazines. It's always the story. I'm an Appalachian. I was born in Knoxville, Tennessee, by the way. And Eastern Tennessee is known for its storytelling. And I'm always proud to say, because I think she's a swell person, you know, probably our most famous storyteller out of Eastern Tennessee is Dolly Parton. And she tells stories through song. James Agee, you know, but I tell stories through poetry. And once you realize what's driving that engine is the story, then you think, okay, then what stories do I want to tell? Or my editor is Kelly Martin, who's a wonderful young lady, always talks about, well, what is the mission of this book? And I hadn't really thought about books as having missions. But I think when I look at my work, each book does have a mission. It's trying to tell a story, it's trying to get an idea and a thought across. And so,
but back before then, you know, for someone to say I'm a poet seems extraordinary to me. I've written poetry years and years ago.
Look at that.
Years and years ago.
Shake that thing.
We can't all
I'll always remember that. That's a lovely point.
when I was in college, Langston Hughes was the only living poet I knew. Who were models for you at Fisk and even before when you thought about poetry as a life?
Well, sure. Well, there's Gwen. I'm not a big fan of role model as a term, but Gwen Brooks, of course, who was a great poet and quite an honor for me to know. And actually, Gwen was born, oh no, I was born on Gwen's birthday, so that you should know you were born on mine. But we're all June 7th babies. And of course, there was Langston. But I was taught by Leslie Collins, who was not a major Renaissance poet, but he's a minor Renaissance poet. I was taught by Robert Hayden, who was English teacher at Fisk. I was taught by Aaron Douglas, my art professor at Fisk. I mean, Fisk was so rich with again, with the arts. I mean, you know, and of course Fisk had we had a lot of speakers coming in and things, so it's always, you know, around there. But I'm always hesitant when people talk about role models, because most of life is not about what you see, but what you dream. And we were talking about Emma Stokes or Miss Delaney or my grandmother or any number of other Mrs. Black whom you don't know and we haven't discussed, who was in the church, or the O'Neill sisters and things like that make me cry. But the main thing is that people kept saying, you know, there's something more to be done. They probably did a little better job of saying it like that, but it would be like, well, and what do you think? So I always thought that my job was to think beyond what was known, which means that, I don't know, I guess consciously, when I started reading Alfred North Whitehead, so that's what, 6th, 7th grade, something like that, I didn't understand a lot about higher mathematics. But I thought, okay, if I'm reading Whitehead because I like space and you have to do something with math, right? So I'm missing a lot about the physics, but I'm getting the idea. And you're going to take what you know and you're going to keep going forward. And if that's the case, you're going to come up with something different. This is what I'm trying to say. So it's not a role model. It's not what has been done. It's what hasn't been done. And I guess if I credited all those, and I'm going to have to, I mean, essentially they are women. If I credited all those women in my life, what they showed me was that, yeah, so you make a mistake, big deal. You tried to do something. And so if I took one thing from Knoxville, Tennessee, in fact, I took more than one, but if I took one thing, it's like, yeah, so you made a mistake, big deal.